Hi, Jared here. Have you ever felt like you're spinning your wheels or just don't have a clear roadmap to take your business to the next level? Well, today I'm going to walk you through a simple step-by-step process to create a clear, actionable plan. We'll clarify your vision, goals, and priorities for the year ahead, ensuring you and your team utilize your limited time and resources as effectively as possible, ultimately increasing your revenue and profits while freeing up your time. And to make this process even easier for you, I've included a free strategic planning kit with my one-page strategic plan template, the strategic planning prep document, and my annual review document. You can grab them all in the description below. All right, let's dive in and build a plan that sets your business up for success this year.
All right, so in this video, we're going to actually start planning the annual section of your strategic plan. And I've completed an example where I've filled in some numbers of what this could look like in practice for the entire annual section here. And I'm going to walk you step by step through how you would do this yourself. The first step in this process is to set the goals for the year. And we're going to set SMART goals. And the acronym SMART, if you're not familiar with it, is S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and T is for time bound. So specific means that it's actually specific. So for example, you wouldn't set a goal that just says, we're going to make more money this year. As well, if you're setting a profit goal, you'd want to define, are you talking about gross profit? Are you talking about net profit? So just make sure that you're very specific and it's very clear what your goal actually is. Measurable means you could write down the goal that you set, as well as the result at the end on a piece of paper. You could hand it to a complete stranger and they would be able to tell you if you hit it or if you missed it. So making sure you can actually determine and measure if your goal is attained. Attainable means, is it actually realistic to attain it within the upcoming time frame of 1 year? Relevant, in this case, means that these are the most important metrics for your business at this time. As well, it means that these goals are aligned with your mission and your values. And then time bound is going to naturally, in this case, just be the last day of the fiscal year you're setting these goals for. And the final piece here is that these goals are typically going to be metric-based goals. So you can see here in the example, these are all specific metrics. So revenue, net profit, net promoter score, average staff satisfaction rating. So we're typically going to be looking at the most important metrics for your business to be measuring and achieving this year. So with that said, you can go ahead and fill out the goals for the annual section of your strategic plan. Typically, you're going to want to set a revenue goal. You're going to want to set a profit goal. I often like to set goals measuring customer satisfaction as well as staff satisfaction, but make sure you tailor this to your own situation, your own business, your own industry, and determine what are the top 3 to 5 metrics that you want to be tracking and improving during the rest of this fiscal year. That's step 1. And then step 2 is setting your critical number for the upcoming year. So the critical number is essentially the most important metric for your company to focus on and achieve in the upcoming year. And it's often also the number, if you achieve it, gives you the best chance of achieving the rest of your annual goals. And it can often be the one metric that represents overcoming the current core restrainer, weakness, or vulnerability in your business. So to help you determine this number, I have some steps you can take here. So the first step is to actually determine what is the core restrainer or problem in your business right now. And you can do that by asking yourself questions like, what key goal is most at risk of being missed this upcoming year? What is the most challenging part of my business right now? What is the biggest opportunity for my business right now? And then once you determine your core restrainer, then you can determine your critical number by, first of all, asking yourself, okay, so what are all your options for overcoming your core restrainer or biggest problem in your business right now? Once you map out those options, ask yourself, if you could only focus on one of these options over the next year, what would have the biggest impact in addressing your core restrainer by the end of the year? And then finally, once you know which one of those options is the highest impact, then determine what's the key performance indicator that is best suited to be used as your critical number metric. So what is the most relevant metric that we can use as your critical number to overcome your core restrainer? An example of this might be perhaps we ask ourselves these questions and determine that the business's core restrainer is sales. From there, what are the options for us to overcome the core restrainer of sales in our business? So for example, one option could be that we increase our ad spend to generate more leads. Another could be that we could focus on improving our funnels to convert a higher percentage of the leads we already are generating into sales calls. Another option could be we could focus on improving our current sales team's ability to close a higher percentage of the sales calls that we already are generating. And a fourth option could be that we could hire additional sales reps. So those are just examples, but we go through those options. And let's say we determine that the biggest impact would be to focus on improving our current sales team's ability to close a higher percentage of sales. So if we've determined that to be the best option to focus on, then what would be the KPI best suited to use for that critical number? And let's say that we determine the best KPI to represent that would be closing ratio. So essentially the percentage of sales calls that happen that actually close and become paying clients. So now we determine that our critical number is closing ratio and we set it as 35%. You'll notice that for the annual section, we actually have two critical numbers. And the reason for this is we want to balance out our focus throughout the year between a critical number that is more growth, revenue, profit, sales driven with one that's more people focused. That might be net promoter score. It may be something around culture or staff satisfaction, but something more on the people side of things. If you determine right now, as you go through the process that we just went through, that the number one most important critical number is a people focused one, then you'd want to counterbalance that with a second critical number that's more focused around performance and growth. So you always want to have two counterbalancing critical numbers for the year. You'll see that each quarter we just set one. It's a shorter time period. We want to be focused in on one main thing. But for the year, we do two. So once you set your critical numbers, then we move on to step 3, which is setting your initiatives. So your initiatives are essentially the 3 to 5 most important priorities for the company to accomplish over the next year. And where the goals and critical numbers that we just set were metric based, the initiatives are going to be more so longer term, bigger picture system implementation, process implementation, or projects that the foundation column of your business dictates needs to be completed this year. And oftentimes these initiatives are going to be directly supporting the achievement of your critical number. So these can also be thought of as activities where you're working on the business to affect long-term change rather than activities where you're just working in the business to influence short-term metrics. Examples of these initiatives may be launching a new product or service offering, overhauling your website, implementing a specific new marketing strategy, implementing a formal recruitment process, getting your financial systems in order, etc. So really, these are the bigger picture, long-term priorities that are going to help you to systemize and scale your business long-term. So you can see I plugged in some examples here. So revamping website to align with brand, building and utilizing your master business plan, and building and implementing a formal sales process. And then finally, what's the question to answer this year? So if you could only guarantee that your company answers one question this year, what would be the highest impact question? So for example, I put, how do we most effectively set up our sales team for success? Which again relates to the critical number of closing ratio. So that is how you complete the annual section of your strategic plan. Once you've gone through, you've set your metric-based goals, your critical number, your initiatives, and your question to answer this year. Then we'll move on to planning the upcoming quarter, which we're going to focus on in the upcoming video. So go ahead and go through this process on your own or with your leadership team, and I'll see you over on the next video.
And now that you know how to complete the annual section of your strategic plan, go ahead and download the free strategic planning kit in the description below. It includes my one-page strategic plan template, the strategic planning prep document, and the annual review document. So everything you need to get started on this process right away. And then in my next video, we'll dive into planning your upcoming quarter. And I'll also be releasing videos soon on building the foundation section of your strategic plan. So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss them.